Please welcome our next speaker, Zaylor Stout.
So, picture this, a black kid growing up in Anaheim, California, down in Orange County. One of only 3 black kids in his elementary school. He has birth defects to his hands and his feet, and he's an only child and becomes a latchkey kid when his parents get divorced. And oh, don't forget, he's bisexual. So, think about it. How many other kids do you think were growing up in Orange County, California with that exact same set of identities? Well, that kid was me. I'm Zaylor Stout, I'm a lawyer, I'm working hard to be able to create a better life for LGBTQIA generations to follow. You know, coming out wasn't easy for me. And I think it's because of the unique intersectionality of my identities. I mean, it's hard to find somebody that has the exact same set that you have. And it's an interesting concept because, intersectionality wasn't a thing back in the 80s. People didn't talk about that, you know. It's either you were gay or you were straight or you were black or you were this or that, but, you know, we're way more complicated people. I was told more often than not, you know, that I wasn't black enough to be black. My birth defect made it difficult for me to participate in the basic sports as kids do, so hard to catch balls, hard to kick balls, hard to dribble balls. I didn't have any siblings to bond with at home, and the boys that I knew only liked kissing girls. What's wrong with kissing boys too? But then as I grew older, you end up hearing things like, well, you know, you're either straight or you're gay. You know, the concept of bisexuality is just a pass-through for folks that are too fearful to say that they're either all gay or all straight. You know, when you get deep down to all where your intersectionalities and your identities meet, that's where your real self is. That's where your whole self is. And if you're denying part of your identity, you're denying part of you. And part of it is, you know, part of it identifies your uniqueness, how you're so unique that you have all these different things. You may be one of the few ones that has this intersection of identities. But on the other end, you know, if you're already lonely or feeling alone, then this, you know, shows more of your isolation. And this is where loneliness lives, and it's when people feel as though, you know, no one understands me or I'm completely alone here in the world. There were many times I would come home, I would make myself dinner, I would do my homework, and I would go to sleep. And I would never get to see my mom because she was working 2 or 3 jobs to keep things afloat. There was no Glee, no Will and Grace on TV. There was no internet. There was Boy George, though. Yeah, Boy George was out and proud in the 80s, all right? But there was nobody like me, you know, somebody that looked like me, somebody that I feel like I could identify with back then. You know, as a black youth, I never really actually expected to ever live long enough to be an adult. And it may be a strange concept, but it was reality for me. I don't know if it's because all the stats that say 1 in 3 black men would end up incarcerated at some point in their lifetime, or if it was because I never saw anybody that was out and proud and living their lives within my community, so it wasn't necessarily something I could see or envision for myself. Ultimately, it was organized sports and the Boys and Girls Club of America that would provide me with some comfort. Some sense of community and belonging that I had been yearning. But even then, I couldn't bring my whole authentic self there. There were still parts of me that I had to keep quiet, that I had to keep in the closet. Now, it was my Uncle Leon, this man, that saved me. And he's not even my uncle. He's my dad's best friend, but I always call him my Uncle Leon because he's been so integral to my life. He was the first person that I came out to, the first adult that I came out to. And he loved me unconditionally regardless of my sexual orientation. Now, I attempted to come out to my mom over there on the right many times, but every time I went to go come out to her, she always knew that it was coming, and she would throw out something like, well, what you do with your life is your business. Now, we were a very private family and didn't really talk about our emotions or our feelings very much, but I did eventually be able to come out to her, and when I did, you know, it seemed pretty uneventful, but then we went to the movies. I don't remember what movie it was that we saw, but the one thing that I remember is that she didn't share a soda with me. And we've always shared sodas when we went to the movies together. I did end up coming out to my dad. It was on Christmas. Now my dad, back over there. My dad, drill instructor in the military. He's the guy that would yell at you and tell you, you're scum, you're nothing. He didn't do that to me as a kid, right? But he did to all those that were getting trained to be able to serve in the armed forces for our country. But that was so late, I was already in my late 20s by then, And it wasn't until college that I met some friends, and my best friend, Omar Anderson, convinced me to go to a club in Hollywood. And I was scared, but I went, and that's where I saw guys kissing guys and girls kissing girls, and there were drag queens, and there were go-go dancers. It was pandemonium, but I loved it. And in that instance, I knew that I wasn't alone and that there were people like me, and these were my people. That's where I met my core group of friends that even 20 years later, I call them my chosen family. And they're the ones that have assisted me throughout my life struggles without judgment, with all kinds of advice and guidance. And through my chosen family, I've been able to, live authentically in my whole self. So I was out in law school, I'm out in my profession, out to my friends, out to all my family. I brought my partner Orr with me to my family reunion in South Carolina, which was kind of nerve-wracking. And I was even out as a city council candidate in St. Louis Park. Now, I recognize that my ability to be able to be out was because of folks that were out before me. Folks that fought for protective laws and for anti-discrimination ordinances and acceptance. And so now I ask myself, what is it that I'm doing to create a path easier for others, the generations to follow? What am I doing to make the younger version of me out there know that he or she is not alone, especially since there's so much hate in the world? So with that charge, I've tried to find ways in order to be able to be involved. So I'm a board member for Reclaim. I rally my local community action group to be able to participate and try to pass a gender inclusion policy in our school district. That's Elise. She's our outgoing president for the GSA. She's a young woman that inspires me every day by the work that she does. I provide legal advice through the LGBT Law Clinic, and I'm helping try to fundraise for Matthew, who's one of my guests today, receive his life-affirming chest surgery so that he can live his life out and openly. This list is my public affirmation that I'm committed to this. I'm committed to every letter within the LGBTQIA community and not just the letter that I identify with. Those within our community that I identify as bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, or asexual should receive the same love and support from our community from those that are lesbian and gay. It shouldn't be more difficult. It shouldn't be more difficult to come out as bi or trans to your gay friends as it is to come out as gay and lesbian to your straight friends. So today I ask you to join me in committing to being more open and more accepting, especially of those within our own community. Our community must come together and must act as that chosen family that was so crucial to me and I'm sure was crucial to many of you. And support your local LGBT causes, raise your voices collectively in regards to policies, and use your heart to love one another fully. Coming out as a young person wasn't easy for me. It was definitely a challenge. But if I can make it easier for even one more kid out there, then I'll know that I've made a positive impact. Thank you.